So Cherie will join us when he can. So interesting you bring that up about doubts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had an interesting conversation with Jacinda about similar thing, and well, she's had an experience this week around doubts and doubt on herself and what she should be doing. But I'm in the. I think I shared with you. I'm in the process of obviously setting up. I've been Ubering, but I've bought a new car so I can Uber for the next 2 years, so I can basically go full into my business. And it's interesting you bring that up. So we'll start with that because I've had doubts. And the body and the mind are bringing up these doubts, and it's like, well, I was sat at my desk today, and I sit in front of a computer most of the day, and I'm on the phone selling and doing whatever I'm doing. And I was sat there today, and yesterday I was all just in flow. I was like, yeah, it's all coming together. I can finally live the life of my dreams, or start to live the life of my dreams, should I say? Right. So I'm getting everything geared up. I'm in my head. I'm planning it. I'm like, right, I can do this. I've had one of the banks I work with in Australia here sent me an email. Hey, Sri, sorry, we're just talking about doubts. One moment, and then to the bank sent me this thing saying, "Hey Nick, we've got some great feedback on your coaching. We want to engage your professional coaching, so we're going to set it all up for procurement, right? Which is huge. So I can speak to anyone in the bank, and I'm on their procurement panel, which is amazing, right? But today, I went out for a walk, and the same thing happened to me today. And I was like, the doubts crept in. It's like, well, what if it doesn't work? What if what you want to do, what you love doing, isn't isn't gonna attract enough clients to cover what I need to cover? And I'm like, and then I sort of snap out of it, and I'm like, what the hell are you on about? It's like it's what you're meant to do. It's your dharma in life. So it's interesting you bring that up. I think a lot of people go through that. And Sri, sorry,
Yes.
we're just sorry, Sri, we're just talking about. Manoj was just saying he's had a lot of doubts come up this week, and I've had some stuff today, and Jacinda's had some stuff, and we were just saying, no matter how conditioned you are or how much you know about these things that we know about and we talk about at a conscious level, unconscious level, those doubts still come up.
Yeah, and actually, one point I wanted to make. I don't know. I don't can. From well, 2 points actually. One is we are human beings, so
Well, I
I
disagree
think
with I
doubts.
dis I disagree with that, but
Okay, well, you know what
that's
I
your,
mean,
that's
right?
your
That
opinion. Yeah.
okay. So what I mean to say is that don't you think there's always going to be doubts in one's life? Because the mind necessarily wants to doubt whatever you are wanting to do. So that's point one.
Mm.
Now, I guess the trick is not to not have those doubts, rather, when you have those doubts, to come out of that as soon as possible.
Mm.
And that's where NLP comes into it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know. What's your intake on that?
So my intake is I'll
On the
come to
doubts. I know you are a spiritual being, and we all are. But
yeah, yeah.
I'm
Okay. So
saying
so so the
the
body. So
doubt, the doubt part.
I'll
Yeah.
talk from what I believe to be the body knowledge and the mind knowledge, right? So the mind from or our existence in this form has created this illusion based on memories, habit, and experience, right? So just because you experience those dates and I experience those dates, right? Shri may not, because Shri may have a different set of experiences, habits, and beliefs, right? But I think we realize we're having them. The fact that we realize we're having them is a really significant point. But forget NLP for the moment. Meditation is, but for me, and I know I bang on about it all the time. Meditation for me is the foundation of taking those doubts from like there to there, and then when we layer NLP on top of that, you know, NLP, as we know, has a huge impact on where the mind focuses. So it gives and we all know, the mind needs a sense of direction, and the sense of direction can either be having fear, doubt, and worry, and going, oh, this is, what's happened to me in the past all the time is going to keep reoccurring. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy because that's the way the mind is programmed. Whereas if knowing what we know, right, when those doubts arise, we can use daily meditation, but also we can use NLP to communicate with those thoughts and to process them, to know that it's just the mind.
See, I think part of the reason why I ask is because actually this question was brought up with one of the coaches I was coaching a couple of weeks ago. And in that person's mind, I'm not going to say if it's a man or a woman, right? Because, maybe they watch this, right? So, but in that person's mind, there was a false belief, I think that's a false belief, that every successful person doesn't doubt themselves. And, I was like, that cannot be. I'm pretty sure Tony Robbins doubts himself. I'm pretty sure Blair Singer doubts himself. I'm pretty sure Bob Proctor doubts himself. The thing is, they know whenever that doubt happens, it might be they take 2 seconds to snap out of it. And maybe we take, 1 day or 1 hour or 1 minute. And in my mind, that's really the goal, isn't it? But what I'm trying to say is that they're also human beings. So by definition, isn't it correct to say that by definition, if you have a mind also, that mind is always going to also resist the change because that's part of its job also?
I agree with you to a certain extent, but you can reprogram your mind neurologically not to be that way. Because have you and I'm sure you would have seen this as well, Sri, that movie I'm not your guru on Netflix. Have you seen that?
Not yet. It's about Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah, it's about Tony Robbins.
Not yet. Not yet. Yeah.
So one thing struck me in that, and I think Manoj knows, and Sri, I've many years ago, I've done like 3 UPWs, I've done loads of Tony Robbins work, and that's what opened the doors to the person I am today, right? So, but on this video, he said something, and I had goosebumps because he's doing his Date with Destiny, right? Which is an intense, I think it's a 7 or 5 day, 24 hour, nearly, not 24 hours a day, but a significant amount of the day doing this Date with Destiny. And they were interviewing him in this doco, and they said to him, oh, so did you get a bit of stage fright? And he just went, he said, no. And they went, well, there's something, and he goes, I've created Tony Robbins. So Tony Robbins, when he first started out, would have probably, as a human being, would have had a bit of fear, doubt, and worry. But I reckon now he's conditioned to be that way, to not have that. And I think that's the key to it. It's conditioning ourselves, or conditioning the mind. Like you said, Manoj, if that does come up, they just go bleh and chuck it away, right?
So then, but if you see the I'm Your Guru, he does his anchoring before going up to stage, right? Each time.
Yeah.
So isn't that itself a contradiction? I mean, why does he need to do that anchoring if he's already created Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah. Okay, so because that's part of Tony Robbins, right? That condition. Did you know? I didn't know this. He, I don't know if you've ever done his UPW, right?
No.
He still has. He's been doing that for I think it's over 20 years, UPW, and he hasn't changed the format of it, the script of it, one iota. He still has. What are those things called when the scrolls, when the words come up, right?
He's prompter, right?
Prompter.
Teleprompter.
Yeah, a teleprompter. Yeah. So he still has a teleprompter, right? Because, and think of how many times he's done that, but just to know where he is in the process. And the anchoring, I think, is, You know, that's just like, he's getting into he's putting his UPW or Date with Destiny aura on him. That's his thing, right? You know, it's like circle of excellence, isn't it? I don't know if you've ever used that in life, but like I used it quite a bit a few years ago, and I still use it now. And is that, you know, because sometimes if I'm going into a new group, I might get a bit of butterflies in my stomach, or I might feel a little bit nervous, and I do my circle of excellence, and it's like, boom, let's go. And I think that's the key to it. It's conditioning the mind to not be that way, to be, okay, well, you know, because if you conditioned your mind over a period of time, it's like any muscle, isn't it? The more you use it, the stronger it gets. We know that, right? It's like repetition is the key to learning, right? And, you know, by using all of these tools, meditation being one of them, and even what Sri does, you know, the practices that Sri does, you can break that state. But it's okay knowing how to do it. It's actually doing it. That's my belief.
What practice Sri does? Something you two are not telling me.
No.
I didn't. I can't. You two have been naughty. Talking alone without me.
I have the Sri. What is it? I have it. I in my head. I have like Hanu or I can't. What's the practice you do?
There are two practices, Nick, actually, and I think I've mentioned about both of it. And Manoj, as usual, is keen to pull our legs for sure. He lets no opportunity go by. So the two practices are the Ho'oponopono practice, the meditation, and the Jin Shin Jitsu healing process.
Yeah. So what's your experience of having doubts come up or fears, and how do you control it?
Well, I've listened to both of you, and in fact, what I see is that, so what I see here when I listen to both of you is a beautiful case for the NLP parts integration. Both of you are right. Both of you are looking at it from two complementary perspectives, is how I saw it. So let me start from the part that Manoj spoke. I'm sure, as all human beings, we'll have our moments of doubts. Where do they come from? That's where I come to you, Nick. You said, maybe our belief systems, our experiences, and the things we went through, and maybe some elements of our personality also will occasionally pop up a bubble of doubt in our head, even if we've been through, let's say, certain situations before. And I'm very glad we are discussing this. I don't know how this topic came up today, but just a few days ago, I had a call with the head of an organization. This is for a session that I'm doing for that organization's top management. And, no matter the fact that this was on a topic that I absolutely resonate with, and I've spent about a decade and a half working on it, thinking about it, experimenting with it and all that stuff. But that day, when I had to talk to the head of this organization, I had butterflies all over. I had doubts in my mind, and it just wasn't easy. And after the session went, after my call with him went well, and he was, exceptionally, good with me, and, he was very centered and calm. Guys, it took me about 3 hours to decompress. It took me 3 hours to decompress because that was the level of, anxiety I was under. And then I reflected on it later on as to where was this coming in from, right? And I knew what were some of my experiences, life experiences in the professional world, because of which I doubted a certain pattern is going to repeat itself, right? And then I went out into a park, just sat down there, simply did nothing, just, I had an open eye meditation, and then I began to settle down. I began to center. So yes, the best of us will have our moments of doubts when there are certain patterns that are playing out in our mind will pop up. Sometimes they may come and catch us off guard. Sometimes there may be situations which will do it. And here is where, again, Manoj, I'll come back to what Nick said. And, here is also where it's an invitation for us from NLP to work on ourselves and see where is it coming in from the neurological levels. Is it coming in at the level of beliefs? If so, then what were the experiences that have kind of triggered these beliefs? Is it coming at the level of identity, purpose, or competence, or whatever it is? And again, it's like I look at a doubt now increasingly, Nick and Manoj, as a feedback for myself, telling me which another area, in my Johari window do I need to work
Mm,
on.
mm,
So it happens.
mm.
It happens.
Yeah.
And and interestingly, Manoj, let me respond to a question you asked Nick about, about why would somebody like Tony Robbins do the anchoring bit, before he goes on the stage live. I've been thinking about this for quite some time, interestingly, from a very different angle. And, I've come to the conclusion that, many times we may be in certain emotional states and may not even realize it.
Mm,
We may be too associated in it. And I've realized for myself that it's important for us to be able to associate into and associate out of states.
mm,
I'll give an example. One of my areas of interest is the armed forces. And I look at their kind of work. I collect stories from the armed forces work. I interact with personnel from the armed forces. I read stories of exceptional, bravery and courage, be it, the Victoria Cross medal winners or the Medal of Honor winners, or even the Veer Chakra winners in India. And and I also look at how, let's say, anchoring is used in the armed forces, let's say through the
mm,
national anthem or the flag, or
mm,
all those kind of things, or the war cries and all that. And there are moments when I get into that state and I get goosebumps all over me.
mm,
And yet I've realized it's important for me to be able to step back and dissociate myself and know what is it that I'm going through when I'm in that particular state.
mm.
I believe it's important for me. And at the same time, I also believe that you can't remain in that state forever, because that's not the only thing you're
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
24 by 7.
Mm,
So there are moments when you need to dissociate and be able to look at yourself objectively and say, okay, in that moment, this is what you went through either unconsciously or by choice, right? And then now it's a different scenario. The screen has changed, the slate has changed. You need to do something else which needs a different state of mind. And then maybe you come back to it, you do that again. Well, would I anchor myself every time I step into a session that I do? No, I don't. I have an anchor that I do when I need to, center myself before a certain session. But do I do it every time? No, I don't do that.
mm.
I just go with the flow at that times, because my state naturally for a training or a coaching session is a very natural, centered, intuitive state. So I won't necessarily invoke that state for myself every time. But there are moments when it comes up, and I do try my best to do that.
And I think state management. So um, state management is key. Is a key thing, and it's incredible how quickly we can do it. Like just as you're talking, and you're talking. Obviously, I was doing a TDS, and I'm searching for experiences where I've had the same, and it's like, um, for me at the moment, right? My home life and my personal life, I'm a spiritual being, and I'm connected to everything, and I have great love, bliss, and joy. The moment I walk through for the role that I do 3 days a week, the minute I walk in that door, I have a state change, and I become Nick the salesman, right? Which is effectively an anchor. Okay, and then and my spiritual presence is still there, and it's always there with me, but it sort of like takes a back seat, and the salesman becomes the salesman. And I think that's why state management is so crucial, and that's great you can do that. But for me, Sri, I'll be honest, um, if I was going in to do a presentation to like 100 or 200 people, I would definitely do my circle of influence trainers um, anchor, because I know I've done it so many times. I know it just instantly puts me in that state, and I'm just on. I'm like, it's like I'm going on, and that's who I am. Um, and I think as well, I was just thinking, Manoj, and you two will have more recent experience of this. When I was thinking about when I ran my recruitment business in the UK, like when I first did it, I was scared to death of leaving my job. Like I had all this fear. I had a mortgage, I had a baby at the time, and all those things to pay, and it caused me a great deal of anxiety. But that that drove me, because I had a really strong away from pattern, right? Because I wanted to move away from that. So that really drove me, and I was like a force of nature. And I remember making, 1 year I made, I don't know what it was, 150,000, right? I made 150,000 1 year. I'd never done that before, but the next year that was easy because I'd already done it. And that year I think I did 200,000. And then I hit 200 and I was like, well, I've done that. And I had no fear or anxiety about doing that again because I'd already done it, and it kept growing and growing and growing each year. So I think it comes with experience, doesn't it? It's like if you're having doubts about something now that's new, right? Because that's generally when fear and doubts come up, isn't it? If it's a new experience, and I did a Think and Grow Rich mastermind class. I used to do them a couple of years ago. And I always remember this one lady, and hopefully she's watching this. Her name is Gina G. She's a very young, beautiful Australian lady. And we were doing one of the mastermind groups was on fear. And it talks, and there's a whole, if you go through Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill writes a whole chapter on fear. And it's, fear is the biggest destroyer of success. And we went away and we did this homework, and she came back the following week, and I said, okay, let's follow up on that chapter. And she said, Nick, I read through this chapter, because you read the chapter every day for, or as much as you can for a week. And she said, we should just feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's always stuck with me. Just feel the fear and do it anyway. But with these state management tools, I think they're so important. And just because something, it's like when you go to a plateau, isn't it? It's you do a presentation to 5 people, and at the beginning you might be a bit nervous, and then the next time it's easy, and then you go to 10, then you go to 20, and so on and so on. And automatically the nervous system is pre-wired to be confident in those environments. But when it's new, or it's something you're unsure of, that's when the fear, doubt comes in. I think that's when state management tools are really important.
What I would also add here, Nick, is that I've also noticed it's also when there is a, your intuition is also trying to alert you to a pattern that's recurring now.
Yeah.
That's when I've experienced fear or doubt. And that here, this pattern has played out before. This has happened before. So just be on the watch out here.
Yeah.
Don't take it lightly.
Yeah. And intuition is a great thing. And what about Manoj? What are you thinking?
So we come back to the point of being and not thinking about the result. Actually, I think that's really the cause. Something wonderful happened last Saturday. So, as you know, we started the conversation with, that so many doubts have been popping up this last week. And I had a call with my sister. And funnily enough, okay, so now, we've spoken about Enneagrams before, right? And my type, I know it's an illusion, yet my type the always concentrates on the future and forgets about the present, right?
By the way, which is your type, Manoj? I never got around to asking.
Three.
Classic Tony Robbins.
Yeah. So you have to, the best thing I can do, right, is concentrate on the present and being, right? What Nick always says, right? Because that automatically gets me into a state of gratefulness and love, right? But somehow this last week, I've just been the old patterns, right? The old patterns of busy, immense in your work. Anybody calls, look, I'm busy, I can't handle your, right? Okay. So then she reminded me that, hey, you've gone back to your old, and I said, oh yeah, shit, you're right. I've stopped singing for the last 2 weeks or 1 week, because I do my karaoke's and, just to have fun, right?
Yeah.
And, I've just been, I've forgotten to even just like go with my wife on, on breakfast or whatever, right? And then I said, you know what? forget it. I'm not going to do any work this weekend, right? So Saturday I did all my stupidities, did some laughs, blah, 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 blah. And then Sunday morning I said, let me go to run, right? So the thing is, I went to run and I took a change of environment. So I didn't actually know the destination. I didn't know how long it would take, right? And this is what I'm getting at, which is because you don't know, or in my case, right, that you don't know the destination, you don't know how many kilometers you are actually going to do. So it's like you're just enjoying the run, right? So I ended up doing 25% more than my level best, right?
Okay, awesome.
And it all happened because of that, it was like, you're just being in that state, right? So then before I said, okay, so I was like, okay, this year, my goal is to do 10 kilometers, right? By end of the year, right?
Yeah.
Shit, I already did that last Saturday. So now I'm like, okay. I mean, my intention was to do 9. So the point is that sometimes you don't even know what you can do.
And we don't know, do we?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like you're like 10. So now I got to set new goals for for the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
But the point is really, it's I could never imagine that I could do it. So even without thinking of the goal, right? Is when I'm. I don't know if that really makes sense what I just said, but
did I tell you about this? Did I tell you about this client I had? We all have these client experiences, and I always remember this client very, very clearly. And I won't say if it was a man or a woman because they might be watching this, but this person came to me, right? And they had all this success in the past, right? But there was something blocking them. They had these blockages. And after we did loads and loads of sessions, and they were a great client. And then about a year later, they started doing these podcasts. Now, this person on these podcasts blew me away. I listened to this podcast and I had so much like pride and love, and just like this person has come so far in such a very short space of time through their determination, their dedication, and their devotion to their goal, whatever that goal was for them, right? But the reason I mentioned this person as a client is because a year ago they would have never, if you'd have said, "Oh, you're going to do a podcast and you're going to be brilliant at it, and people are going to love your voice," men and women will be going, "Oh, this person is amazing," right? This person would have laughed in my face and said, "Nick, shut up, get out of here, and I'm never going to do that." But now they do it, and it's like easy as 1, 2, 3, right? They do it that easily. 1, 2, 3. It's as easy.
I guess
as that.
I think I know who this client might be.
Price. What's the price?
But all I'm
tell me. 2 times. What's the price?
But the reason I mention that is because this person, right, never in their wildest dreams would have thought they would have done a podcast and excelled at it. And that's the beauty of not knowing where you're going, right? And one thing I watched the other day, as you guys know, I'm very devoted to my my practice, and I thank my partner for allowing me to do this. But this person has been coming to me, this video, it's satsang with Papaji, right? And he was a disciple of Ramana Maharshi. And I want to, and I keep getting this sense to share this energy in satsang. So I was watching him, and this lady, throughout the satsang, he reads. People are allowed to write him letters, and when he was alive, and he would read the letters out and give them advice. Anyway, this lady, European lady, in this satsang, she went, "I'm about to leave the ashram, and I'm going to go home, back to reality." Right, I'm going to go back to reality. And she said, the words were something that was like, "Oh, Captain, you are the captain of my boat. Guide me and navigate me and tell me where I should go." Right. So I can't. Let's say her name was Lisa or something like that. So he goes, "Oh, Lisa, whose letter is this?" So this lady puts her hand up. She comes and sits front of Papaji, and he goes like this, and he just laughs. Not in a taking the mick laugh, like just going. He's reading this letter, and he said, you know, Captain. And he said, why don't you take your navigation and all your guidance and all your maps and throw them all the way and just enjoy and allow it to unfold and see where it takes you. And that to me was like just pure beauty. And this woman just laughed and cried, and because, you know, I think sometimes we focus so much on our goal. We like what Manoj said. We focus so much on our goal. We forget like being in now and being in that presence, whatever that presence is for everybody. And you know, going back to my amazing client, done things I never ever would have thought they were possible, but they do them now, and they do them naturally and easily and effortlessly every single time.
What's your take about that client, Manoj? What, you know, would you?
A bloody idiot for sure. He should have never coached with Nick. Never.
Nick, give me a high five there. Give me.
I had to share that one. Brother. But it's true though, isn't it? It's like if somebody, okay, Manoj, if somebody would have said to you like 9 months ago, right, you're gonna structure a podcast. If anyone hasn't figured it out, by the way, Manoj was the client, the person,
Yes,
right? So I know you figured it out.
Just 5 seconds before you said about, you know, something about, you know, that voice and women and men going grey. Just 5 seconds before that, I knew where is he going with this straight deadpan face. I knew where is he going.
Shiri was going to claim the prize, and you took it away from
I
him.
know. I'm sorry. But just think about it. It's like if somebody would have said to you 10 months ago, should I say, you know, Manoj, you're gonna take all this training and everything that you've done, right, and you're gonna create this beautiful podcast. It's structured, it's, you know, and it contains so much flow and engagement. You would have probably gone, I'm never going to be able to do that.
First of all, I didn't even know what a podcast was 10 months ago.
There you go, right?
And second, I had a very good trainer. And I wonder who that is, Shiri. I wonder who that is, you know. A crazy British guy who now happens to have more of an Australian accent than a British accent.
Good day, mate.
Who has a baby face when he doesn't have his beard, you know. And so I wonder who that is.
But
I won't spoil the surprise for our audience who will be watching this. Let them also try and guess it out a bit.
I think
Shiri, you know, I think
claim all the prizes today, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know, guys. That's what I really think. We just have to feel the fear and do it anyway.
You know, sure, but you know, I want to add something here, Nick. You know, before it slips my mind. And you know, Manoj, I was thinking about this since the last 2 days. You know, I was reflecting on my own journey over the let's say the last 9 or 10 months. So beginning, I think April or May, when Kusum ma'am asked me to, you know, be more engaged with the NLP courses at the Mind Matrix in the studio, and you know, in the first batch I did, you and I got assigned with each other, and then I was looking back at that whole journey. So Nick, Manoj was the first person, and then of course Manoj, Siddhant came in the second batch. No, I think Siddhant was being coached by someone else. I was coaching Siddhant as part of his IFDE project, the design thinking project. Then another lady, oh, interestingly, there's a connection here, Nick, for that. And that lady works in the Australian High Commission here in Delhi.
Ah, okay.
Okay. And then in the latest edition of the NLP practitioner course, I was assigned to work with a retired major general from the Indian Army. Okay. I was looking back at all these four people, Nick, and now when we are discussing Manoj, you're absolutely right about this, Nick, in terms of the Manoj I met back then and
Mm,
the kind of questions he asked back then and the
mm,
kind of stuff he talks about now. It's like
yeah.
a vast difference. So I think this guy deserves a pardon for the amount of work he has done on himself.
But
Absolutely.
but
I'm gonna quit this
no.
this
But all right.
channel
But
now.
I think I should share as well, and Manoj, the spotlight's on you, brother. Right. I have, apart from myself, okay, and possibly I don't know you that well, Sheree, but just from my own experience, I have never met another person who is so committed and devoted and will do and has done whatever it takes. And like
Absolutely.
whatever it takes, he'll do it, And this is the thing, it's a bit like, and I think I've shared this story before, but I shared it with somebody the other day. Steve Jobs says, you can never write your story, right? You can only get to the end and look back and see what the significant events were of your life. And I use that story a lot in my coaching sessions because I mean, it was always on the cards, but through us working together, Manoj, right? You sparked an interest, something sparked, and it was like, right, I'm going to do NLP, right? And you make, I don't know if you may not remember this phone call. I remembered it vividly in my mind. This is going back whenever it was, a year ago or maybe more. And you were like, I'm going to do NLP, man. And he had this excitement and he was like, like I don't know, like when you're going to do something brand new, and he had all this energy and excitement. And in that NLP training, he metamorphosized from the man that he knew himself to be up until that point, but he discovered so much more throughout that training. And he came out of that training, like as any, metamorphosis happens, like a new being. There was a new confidence, a new mindset, but that changed everything. Because if you remember the fear, doubts, and worries that you had or you used to have in the past, right, before you did NLP, they were wiped. I remember when you came out of NLP, you were just like, let's have it. And I think that's a huge state change, but that comes down to, you have to be devoted, right? Or you have to be committed, because devoted can mean different things, but you have to be committed to yourself, and what always amazes me about people, and we've all worked with like probably between us thousands and thousands of people, right? And I don't know about you guys, but we'd be idiots if we didn't see repetitive patterns happening in people, right? We'd be silly not to notice that. People are more committed to going on holiday, or more committed to buying a new car, or more committed to something else than they are to themselves. And the thing is about you, Manoj, right? You are committed to yourself, and you've gone through all that, and to see the change, the transformation in you, not just through our work together, but through the NLP training you did with Sheree and the business over there. It's phenomenal, man. Phenomenal.
As I was listening to you, Nick, I was just remembering in my mind, I may be forgiven if I don't remember everything because there's so much.
Yeah.
I was trying to recall all the things I know Manoj has been attempting over the last many months, be it about getting in shape, joining the gym, doing the meditation, doing the run, starting and doing and continuing with the podcast, writing that book about China, getting all those videos recorded, and on top of it, going and doing the master's course and the Enneagram practitioner course.
And being a loving, fun father, right?
Yep.
And making time to take his beautiful wife, his really beautiful wife that he never told me about. He was taking her every Saturday for coffee or something like that. Like everything changed.
He's a poster boy, if you ask me, whom we can quote to so many other people to say, look at this person if you want to role model. if you want to kind of get inspired by,
Yeah.
and in terms of the limitless possibilities that open up when you discover your gifts and you get into that state of being, just
Yeah.
allowing your natural being to flower and be every day out there.
And not, and I love this because he thinks I'm sharing this from a place of my heart here for you, brother, because I love you dearly. You know that, right? But also never giving up. And I'm going to share something. Can I just for anyone that's watching, right? Like, if you ever want to know what it's like to not give up, give that man a call, because like he's lost everything, started again, gone through cancer. Was it twice now? Gone through cancer twice.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. No, this is the thing, right? This man sat right here.
Anything you don't know about me.
Yeah.
But
So
I
he's
didn't know about this cancer
yeah.
thing.
So he's gone through cancer twice, right? He's lost everything, time and time again. He's gone through all these different personal battles, right? Not just in business, but in health, and not just in health, in personal, and all these things, right? But like, doesn't take no for an answer. Like, and I've known you now. I've known you now since what, 2006?
Yeah,
15,
long time.
15,
Too long time. Too long.
15 years, right? And ever since I've known him, out of anyone I've ever known in my life, he's always been right. I'm going to make it. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And to his credit, that's what he does. And I think, state management, commitment to a worthy goal, not even if you don't know what that goal is, but having a sense of, a knowingness, like you knew that you wanted to do that, right? Whether that was based on previous experiences or what, you've always known that's what you wanted to do. And along the way, you've transformed, like from the man I knew back then. You're like this, I don't know how I would describe you, but anyway, so if the point being, right, and we can all say our own stories, the point being, he is living proof of not saying no and just feeling the fear and doing it anyway.
I don't know. I don't know what to say, Nick. Really.
You don't have to say anything, brother. I'm sharing, like, that's why
it's not
that.
It's
our time. It's our time. Manoj, it's
no,
Nick and my time to say.
No,
it's Nick and my time to say. Let me say something here, Manoj. No, hold on. Let me say something here, Manoj. In fact, I'm going to say something and I'm going to ask you a question on that. Manoj, in the latest NLP batch that we did in the Mind Matrix Wellness Studio, I was teaching neurological levels, right? And I asked people to go back and apply to their own lives and evaluate. And I've been coaching somebody lately, and Nick knows that I reached out to Nick to get some help in terms of doing the representation system analysis and also a few. This is one coaching, Manoj, where I consciously, purposefully had it loaded more from the NLP side, let's say from other side, so to speak, because my intuition told me that this person needs that kind of an approach. I did that. So for the last 1 month, I've been literally soaking in and living and experimenting a lot with the neurological levels. So here is what I'm going to say, Manoj. I think you'll be a great help in the forthcoming. I don't know how comfortable you would be, so it's subject to your comfort. But I think it will be a great help in the forthcoming NLP practitioner batches at the Mind Matrix Wellness Studio, Manoj, if we could get our participants to come and talk to you, and if you could kind of answer them the question as to that in those deepest of the down moments, what aspect of the neurological level was it? Something around identity? Was it something around from purpose, or something that really gave you that one more ounce, or the one more inch to say, okay, keep going, let me put the next feet in front of the other and then the one in front of the other till I see it through. So that's a thought I've had, because I don't think those people will get a better live teacher than to listen to your experience as to now when you reconnect it back to the neurological levels and then answer their questions.
I would love to, but I don't know what really I can talk about or say. I mean, there's so many people like me out there. It's not
Yeah, they are.
But
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Manoj, trust me, believe you me, there's no doubt about it. And so when I was telling you that, 1 inch at a time, just one more step in front of the other, guess who I had in mind? I don't know if both of you have heard of this guy or not, but he's not there anymore. His name is Desmond Doss, and he won a Medal of Honor during the Second World War. He was an American, and he was somebody who volunteered to join the army after seeing his friends and all get butchered in the Pearl Harbor attack. And he said that I will go into battle without a gun to protect myself. And Mel Gibson made a movie on his life called The Hacksaw Ridge. And it's amazing to see what this guy goes through in the Japanese battlefront in the Pacific, and with no gun to protect himself, and he volunteers to join there as a medic on the field, and how he when he's kind of rescuing his people from the hacksaw bridge, the ridge at the top, and bringing them back, he just says this one thing, just that Lord, help me get one more person. Lord, help me get one more person. And in fact, Manoj, I'm going to use his case study to illustrate a session that I'm going to do on motivation and the sources of motivation, and where values and life shaping experiences bring in to create some kind of an intrinsic motivation to do that. And it's amazing to see his hands are completely torn off with that rope and everything, and yet all that you could see is just help me get one more person, just help me get one more person. So for me, that's a great example of putting one feet in front of the other, one day at a time, one moment at a time, and saying, I don't know where this is going to go and end, but let me just put one feet in front of the other. Let me just put one feet in front of the other. And there's so many people out there who are great examples of it, Manoj. But I think, in my experience, tells me one thing. We all look for heroes. And there are popular heroes, there are celebrated heroes, who are some of the highest gallantry award winners and all that. But I've also quietly doubted one thing, that when we narrate their stories in our sessions, sometimes some people may find that the gap between them and these heroes is maybe too far a gap to bridge. They may tell themselves that maybe he was destined, maybe he was chosen by forces of time and destiny, maybe he was exceptional. And that's why he survived those 40 bullets in his body and still managed to do what he did to save his colleagues and all that stuff. No, not me. There, I think those people are silently looking for somebody, in regular flesh and blood, somebody as ordinary as they look like, and say, can somebody like me, is there somebody like me out there, in whose presence I feel it safe, comfortable, and vulnerable to, start putting my baby steps out there. And I think those people need people like you, Manoj, is what I say.
And I'd second that, Manoj, because I think we all hear these stories.
I don't do anything extra. I just try to be a role model for my daughter. Really, that's my driving force. That's it. I always it's like I always believe that the next generation, or rather the new generation, can do things, let's say, in half the time, right? So it's like, that's why, whatever my parents did, we did it in half the time, and now generation is doing, so I always try to, even the other day, just made me immensely happy, not proud, happy, right? Because proud is a different, pride is totally a different emotion, right? Happiness is genuinely happy. When my daughter made a vision board, at the age of 14, and I never told her to do that. And you know what I told her? I told her, yeah, you're already 20 years ahead of me, because I did my first vision board at 35. And and I know it's partly because every day when I talk about this or that, right? And then the other days we were in the car, she goes, Papa, I did what you do. Now every time I want to do something, I just take action immediately. I don't procrastinate, And again, it was like, yeah, so, it's like you got to. So I guess for me, the driving force is that if I can show her that everything is possible, and then you just have to push on, then I don't know what's going to happen in her life. whatever is going to happen is going to be good, I'm sure. But she has to know that at least the possibilities are there, right? Like, what they said. I think the verse is not that you shoot for the stars, you reach the moon or something like that, right? So really, I think that's really the driving force.
Nick, what Manu just said, he's just speaking from the neurological levels of purpose and identity.
I know, and what I was just going to say is this, Manoj, right? That authenticity and that genuine support you gave for your daughter, other people coming into whatever course you're doing, the NLP course, would love to hear about that journey and what you do and why you do it, because that will touch, even if you touch one person. This is what I believe about the work that we do, right?
Yeah.
Even if like that guy, what was his name? I wrote it down. Desmond Doss. Oh Lord, let me just save one more person, right?
One more person. Yeah.
Now I don't know about you guys, but the reason I do what I do is because if I can touch one person, or not me, but the knowledge and wisdom that I have, if I can touch one person with that and support them in living a better life, then my life has been fulfilled. So for what you're sharing there, manager, I just think, man, it's real. It's like, like you can read books about these things, and we've all read hundreds of books over the years, haven't we? And watched hundreds of movies, and it's all like dry knowledge. It's not, it's not direct experience. Yeah. And when somebody stands in front of you and they tell you their story and what they've done and how they've done it, there's a connection there, and you learn more from that talk than you would from reading 10 books.
Absolutely. There's a beautiful proverb I came across, Nick, years ago at the IBM facility here in Noida, next to Delhi, and it says, "An hour spent with a wise man is equal to 10 years of study."
Yeah, 100%. That's a beautiful. And
what you said, Nick, this is something amazing I came across a few days ago on LinkedIn, and I need to share this with both of you. So there's this gentleman I know in, he's a senior vice president at a, fintech company, financial technology services company. And the company's name is FinGent, and his name is Deepu Prakash. So Deepu, if you're listening to this, I want you to know that I'll be reading out what you wrote there. He said, leadership is really about creating meaning in your life by helping another person do something that's meaningful to them. And that's what you just said, Nick.
Yeah. That's what we do, right? It's like, and that's why I would, Manoj is a coach, right? And he's got all this wisdom and all these true events in his life, because I think, no disrespect, but there's a lot of coaches out there that come without life experience, right? And they're just reading from a handbook, whatever that handbook is, where you, my friend, right, have got multiple years of experience and wisdom, and now think of all the people you can touch. Like you can coach and you can support, and you'll transform their lives like you transformed your life.
All thanks to Nick Savory.
No, it's not all thanks.
Yeah. Because it was that day back in 2008 where I made that call to you, and you let me go, and I came back to you after 6 months, and then you said, "Now you're ready. Now let's kick ass." And NLP came to me thanks to all your hypnotic suggestions you made.
Well, that's my intention.
Nick Savory from SourcePoint Coaching Australia, whoever is watching this, don't call me. Don't ever call me. Call Nick Savory.
No. Thank you, brother.
But I just got a minute before I need to log in for a Gallup webinar, but I need to say this. And Manoj, I want you to know this. So a big thank you to you, Nick, because when we first connected back, I think in July or so, you shared some of the resources that you use, especially the representational, assessment system. And, Manoj, I want you to know this, that, like I was talking about this coaching client I've been working with over the last month and a half, my intuition, and it's never happened before, but with this person, my intuition very strongly said, you need to load more on the NLP side. You need to bring in more of NLP practices. And the first thing it said is, figure out this guy's representational systems. And I used and I remember this, Manoj, because you just mentioned Nick's company name, SourcePoint Coaching. So I took Nick's that Word file, MS Word file, with the headmaster up there, SourcePoint Coaching, and I sent it to my client and said, this is from my friend in Australia, just fill it up and send it back to me. And believe you me, Manoj, I had a conversation with Nick about this person's representational system and how does it work. We shared that recording with you. What should we keep in mind? And believe me, Nick, it just hit the nail like right on head. And guess what? During my debrief session with him, I think last Monday, it turned out that he used to be into active journaling when he used to live in Japan for a few years. And he journaled for about 7 odd years, and then his diaries and all were lost in a fire or something like that, and he stopped it. But journaling came very natural for him, and that's why in my coaching sessions with him, Nick, I didn't do any live Q&A question session in the coaching session. I just sent him questions which he had to respond to in typing and send it back. So as he was typing his responses, he got the answers he needed. So I think for me, using your tool and connecting it with what your advice was about, getting him to think here primarily and do the body-based exercise, in that he was primarily an internal dialogue person. I think yesterday I told him that, you can stop here because your primary goal is met, unless you want to continue for a few more weeks, etc. So Manoj, thank you for introducing me to Nick. And
introducing to everyone. I think the biggest takeaway before you go through, for anyone listening to this, is do NLP and feel the fear and do it anyway. That's like feel the fear and do it anyway. All right. True. Always a pleasure. I'll stop the recording now.
Thank you.